Hey, good afternoon, YouTubers. Um, just waiting on Facebook to kick on live here. It should start in just a few seconds. You guys are getting the early view today. Wow, 6 viewers. Wow. And good afternoon to everybody. How are y'all doing today? I'm having fun just sitting behind the keyboard, getting ready to BS and stream and talk about whatever comes up. Now, on Wednesday, normally, this would all be happening at around 7 o'clock tonight, Eastern Standard Time. But Kyle is feeling a little under the weather and having a little one underfoot today also. So we decided to, rather than stress him out further, we're going to push back Wastrel Wednesday to next Wednesday. And so today I thought I'd just come on and, without much of a plan, because I always have such a great plan, and just chit chat with you guys a little bit. Now, tonight I will be live streaming with Jayashiro Finney on YouTube. He hasn't put up a link, but as soon as I get a link, I will come back and I will share it on Facebook. So if you only follow me on Facebook, you can come over to YouTube and listen to me live stream. And he and I will be talking about getting started, some of the pitfalls and methodologies of getting going in role-playing game writing. Apparently a bunch of his listeners had questions that were aimed at that right there specifically, so that's what we'll be doing. We'll be talking to him about that. But in the meantime, a lot of echo on the stream. Oh, was that just you? Hang on. Yeah, no. I've only got the one source going today. So, in the meantime, if you're interested in reading a damn fine blog, I want to share Kyle's blog link with you there for you folks over on YouTube and on Facebook. The Viking Hat GM, because every once in a while, as a game master, you have to put on the Viking hat. Kyle is a swell guy, and you should all check out that blog. Yesterday, he made a post about Outland, which is one of the better cyberpunky sci-fi movies. And it's Outland is a cyberpunk movie, in the sense that it doesn't traffic in aliens or even androids or artificial intelligence or anything like that. It is about a dirty corporate future, and the tagline for the film is, in the future, man's greatest enemy is still man. And it is. If you've never seen Outland, I heartily recommend that you add that film to your to-watch list. It is marvelous. I love it. Sean Connery, Francis Sternhagen, James B. Sikking, who else is in it? I've gone blank. I can picture the actor in my mind's eye. He's been in a ton of stuff. He was the dad on the TV show Arrested Development. The family patriarch. God, if somebody wants to look that up for me. Oh, and hello, Simile. How are you? Good to see you. Good stuff in the mail and no stressing about bad crap now. Well, good for you. Good for you. But yeah, that if you're interested in travel or even Star Frontiers, just a gritty, lived-in, near-ish future sci-fi, go see Outland. And of course, like everybody, I can't help but look up little bits of trivia about movies when I find them. Some considerations for the role that Sean Connery eventually was tapped for were Gene Hackman, which would have been marvelous. Actually, I think anybody would have been, any of the actors they mentioned would have been good in the role. Clint Eastwood. I mean, can you imagine Clint Eastwood basically doing Dirty Harry, but on a rundown, futuristic mining operation in space? My God, that would have been fun. But yeah, do check out Outland if you get a chance. And what else? Oh, yes. So tomorrow I'm going to be doing a painting clinic. You're all invited to come and watch me paint. I don't mean clinic like I'll be putting on a clinic, but it's like therapy for me. And I'll be continuing to paint my Grenadier Hirelings set. I'm going to do that on camera for a good hour or so. And yeah, I'll share a few techniques that I like to use. But you know, if you're already gifted with the brush or the airbrush, you absolutely positively don't feel compelled to watch, because I am forever and eternally an amateur painter. But yeah, I like to have a lot of fun with that. Man, my audio bitrate is all over the place today on Facebook. So yeah, that'll be Thursday. And then Friday, we're actually going to have a guest Friday. Somebody I haven't had on the live stream. And I'm really super excited to have this guy here, Don McVitie, who is the head guy in charge over at Hellebard Games. He is a good friend of mine for now many years. He is the dude that gave me my start as a professional writer of things other than role-playing games. Don's going to be here, and we're going to talk about all sorts of fun stuff. You know, maybe we can glean some hints as far as you know, starting your own RPG business, because that's what he's been up to, in addition to other projects he's had going on. But we'll see if we can talk to him a little bit about his working for Gary, and ding to you too, phone, and just lots of other things. So Don will be here on Friday, and I believe that show, I'll have to double check, make sure his times are good, will be at 1 p.m. Eastern. So if you don't know Don, well, stop by and get to know him, because he's a good guy. Oh yeah, so I wanted to mention this. First of all, I am just elated to see that I now have I should say we. I include you know, Kyle's a regular here, so he's part of this endeavor. But I have 602 subscribers now, and I couldn't have done it without you guys. Thank you all very, very much. I want to get it over 1,000, but we're over the 500 hump, well over the 500 hump, and we just have 398. I just need 398 more people to take me to the 1K mark. And when I hit 1K, we're going to have fun, because I'm going to fill this table up right here with Dwarven Forge. I'm going to get the camera set up, the camera boom pointing at it, and we're going to have a dungeon bash on it. That's right. I'll throw together a dungeon, and you will be able to log on in real time and have a miniature, a character in miniature that you can move around room to room and grab up treasure and fight the occasional monster and avoid the occasional trap. It's going to be loads of fun. So let's all strive for 1,000 and see if we can get me over 1,000. And the chief reason that I want to do that is there's a lot of cool stuff I can do with YouTube. Things that are like not even an option to do with Facebook, but I can do them with YouTube but only after I have 1,000 viewers. Like auto starting my videos, just literally having my, like, clicking, okay, start at this time. That way I don't have to click around back and forth. That's not an option unless I have 1,000 subscribers to my channel. I can do what they call super chats. Then I can do monetization. I'm not gonna lie, I can do monetization, but I can do polls also. I can ask you guys things, and you can give me feedback on YouTube. So I got to 602. I was sitting at 601 for a long time, and I thought, oh, this is going to be cool. I'm going to do a short little like video clip where I'm going to take this scene from the movie The Andromeda Strain and announce that I was at 601. So there's a little bit of deep nerding that goes on explaining that. First of all, to avoid getting stepped on by YouTube and the powers that be at Facebook when I'm doing live streams and everything, I have been referring to the disease that has caused the lockdown, the illness, the bug, if you will. I've been calling it Andromeda Strain. Now, if you've never seen Andromeda Strain, it is some good, bleak 70s sci-fi. Like, man, the 1970s were great for bleak science fiction. Star Wars was the sole exception. You know, it was an uplifting movie. But even Star Wars had a lived-in future look to it, right? But we had in the 70s, we had Soylent Green, Andromeda Strain, Rollerball, Logan's Run. Oh, just the list just goes on. And it was right around the same time that I think the original Planet of the Apes was 1968, but it's close enough, I think, to that time period to include it in there. Very bleak, no future, no hope. And the film The Andromeda Strain deals with a space probe that crashes in a tiny, tiny, tiny town in Arizona called Piedmont, which I don't think that's a real place. Everybody dies in the town after the probe crashes. And when they conduct autopsies, an impromptu field autopsy on the on one of the bodies, they find that the blood of the person has been completely crystallized. And what's happened is this life form, and I don't mean intelligent, climbing out of the spaceship, wielding a ray gun and saying Mars needs women life form, but just a colony of organisms that they refer to as Andromeda, just because it's the first organism from outer space that they found. So they're like, classification Andromeda. The computer just spits it out, so they call it Andromeda, hence Andromeda Strain. It doesn't come from the Andromeda Galaxy, at least as far as the protagonists or we, the viewers, know. It's this highly, highly virulent disease. And when they're researching it, they try and come up with like, okay, what are the possible number of permutations that this disease could take under optimal conditions? And so they input it into this computer and start running a simulation to grow the bacteria in simulation terms. And it crashes the computer, and it just displays 601 on the display terminal. And one of the scientists goes, well, what does 601 mean? And the computer operator says, it's too much data. Well, the reason 601 was used in the film, it wasn't, they just didn't just pull some random numbers. When Apollo 11 was in the process of landing on the surface of the moon, they had a buffer overrun of data. They had forgotten to turn off one of the radar altimeters on the lunar lander. And so it was feeding data at a furious rate into the computer, and the error code that they had to indicate, basically the blue screen of death for the Apollo the AGC, Apollo Guidance Computer, was 1202. It was just like the last one on the list. It's like, oh, out of memory error. Well, as we know, there were no disasters because of the 1202 error. But Michael Crichton had read this, and so when he wrote the book and then later the screenplay for the Andromeda Strain, said, oh, well, instead of 1202, I'll make it 601. It's that divided in half. So I saw that I had 601 viewers, and I was like, I'm going to do something Andromeda Strain related, because I make jokes about COVID and Andromeda Strain, and it's going to be, it'll be wacky and fun. And then I turn around, and I have 602 viewers, which is awesome. But it's like, I sat on my butt all day going, yeah, I got 601 viewers. I'm going to do an Andromeda Strain thing. Nope. Just kicked over. Oh, well. Hey, I'll make an Apollo joke when I get 1,202 viewers. How about that? I did want to give a shout out. I haven't done a shout out in a really long time, and I've been meaning to do that. You can check the old live streaming. But my shout out is to a couple of very cool friends of mine, Stacy LeWare and Brian Adams. Not that Brian Adams. In my opinion, the Brian Adams I know is much cooler than the Brian Adams, the rock star. They have announced their nuptials, so congratulations to Brian and Stacy. You two kids have already had a lot of long years of happiness together, and I wish you so much many more as you finally create those bonds of matrimony. So congratulations to you guys. That's very, very cool. Looking over at chats. Let's see. Looking forward to the Ishii stream, setting my alarm for the broadcast. I have the day off tomorrow, so no harm with an early morning watch. Well, that's good. That's good. It's weird when you think about time zones. Like, your day, like the entirety of your day, can encapsulate a night's sleep for somebody. It's like, you get up in the morning, you start doing your thing, they go to bed, they sleep, they get up, and you've still got hours left in your day. That's just weird to me. Time differences, man, it messes with my head. So, now that all the preamble is out of the way, 17 minutes of preamble, on to the fun stuff that I was going to talk about today. Kind of a thing that people like to do are participate in are things called shelfies, where they'll show off an entire collection of RPG material that they have. And I've seen people with spaces the size of my studio, but like 4 walls sans door are just filled with shelves and shelves and shelves of RPG material. You could potentially walk into a place like that and say, I want to play FGU's Aftermath. Well, I have that, or I want to play Call of Cthulhu 3rd edition. I have that. How about Rules Compendium D&D? Got one of those. I'm not so gifted as to have that much stuff. Now, I have some totes. I have a couple of small mountains of totes over here that contain the bulk of a friend's RPG collection. What I've held on to. He passed away, and his wife gave it all to me because she knew that he and I like gaming together. So that was his legacy to me. But I don't really have much of a place to display it. I've got a giant Lord of the Rings mural on the wall over here, and I just don't have the bookshelves. And plus, the bookshelves would take up a lot of room and constrict an already small room. But yeah, so I keep out the things that I enjoy the most, the things that I like to have to hand, um, that I enjoy gaming with the most, and some things that I just like. I know I'm not going to game with that, probably, but it's mine and I think fondly of it, so I'm just going to reach over and I'm going to pull it off the shelf every now and again and give it a leaf through. Uh, so this thread came up and people were talking about, what's your favorite, uh, what RPG items do you have that are really, really, really close to you, that are really precious to you. And I thought about it, and I'm not one of those guys who has like my OCE collection. Here, let me show you this. Just a moment. Here we go. I've got one of these, and I've shown this before. I think we've done an unboxing of it. If not, then maybe we'll do an impromptu unboxing of it here in just a minute. But it's not an Alexan case, okay? It's not in a frame on the wall. It sits on a shelf where I can see it, where I can go over and say, I want to experience some of that old school TSR goodness, and open it up and go through the contents of it and just enjoy it for what it is. Now, I will say I don't take my autographed original D&D books around. People have sticky fingers, and I don't want to tempt someone who might normally not be tempted by waving around books that were signed by Gygax and Arneson before they both passed away. Those are awesome, and I have those, and I remember those very, very well. Getting those items from friends. I think I've talked about how I wound up collecting original D&D. A friend of my wife's, whom she worked with, who knew that I liked D&D, was up in another city here in Florida at a Friends of the Library sale. And for just like $5 a piece, they had an OD&D set of it was kind of a hybrid OD&D set. It was volumes 1 and 3, and then a Moldvay basic D&D book. Just sitting there, and he snagged them up and then contacted my wife and said, "Hey, Bill plays D&D. Does he have these little D&D books?" And she called me, and I was like, "No, I don't. I would really like those." And this is before Gary passed away. I don't think I paid more than $20 for a single one of my OD&D books. And now they're like wacky expensive. So I tend not to take those around. But I mean, that's how I got collecting those. And it's the stories of how I got them, and the experience of having gotten them, that makes them special to me, not the amount of money I spent or didn't spend on them. Now, I could break out the credit card and financially sink us by going online and just buying a wood grain OD&D set. I could do it tonight. In fact, a few weeks ago, somebody put a wood grain up for auction, and it had been sitting there a couple of days not bid on, but the starting bid was $2.50 for a wood grain OD&D set. I bid $2.60 because I knew somebody was going to come back, like the bidding was going to take off, and I was just going to get stampeded, right? But I just wanted to say I bid on a wood grain OD&D set. I think what happened was the person who put it on eBay meant to put it up for $2,500 as a start. And it was just sitting there. And I bid on it. And they saw what had happened and they panicked. And they took the auction down immediately. Now, I wish I'd done that when there was 35 seconds left to go. Not that I don't think that the guy would have, or girl or whoever would have tried some scammery to say, no, you can't have that. I'm just not going to sell it to you, et cetera, et cetera. But just the same, it was kind of funny. But I like stumbling on things and finding them just tucked away in a rare bookstore. It's easy to go out on eBay and to graze things, but to say that, you went to your favorite local used bookshop and, you're leafing through, late issues of White Dwarf magazine, and then there's White Dwarf #2 just shoved back in there. I mean, White Dwarf from back in the 70s. I don't mean the catalog for Games Workshop that it became. And another is gifts. I have 2 of my books in my OD&D set were gifted to me. As I said, the Monsters and Treasures section of the 3 little brown books didn't come with the ones that were given to me by a friend of the family. So one year for Father's Day, my wife bought me the Monsters and Treasures book. She found it for $25 online and was like, here, happy Father's Day. And I thought that was the coolest thing in the world. But in the overall, I would say that it is more meaningful to me to get items either as gifts or as wonderful finds than it is to just go out and buy them. Or if it is something that I went out and bought, to have a good story behind it. To say, yeah, I bought this module at Zayre's when I was a kid, and I've had it ever since, and it's tattered and it's beaten up. But I can tell you every grease stain, every separated page, every fold, every crease in it, every pencil mark on the maps. I drew a little skull and crossbones right there because that's where, that's the room where the orc chieftain speared my buddy Dave to death. That sort of thing. Those are the meaningful items to me. Now, here's another set. I'm just going to lean forward real quick and grab this. Pardon me. And, of course, we talked a lot about this one the other day when I got it. This is the Holmes introductory set for Dungeons and Dragons. A friend of mine, got me this as a gift. And that makes it awesome. That makes it special to me. So, and I am not starting a polemic about people who go out and have the money to buy things. I mean, if I had the kind of disposable income to get a wood grain original D&D set, sure, I would do it. It would be a neat curio to have, a piece of history, something that there's only one of maybe 700 of left in the world. You got to figure most of those, they got played with until the boxes fell apart. Or when AD&D came out, or even the OCE came out, people were like, yeah, this thing's beat to hell. It smells like cigarette smoke. It's got coffee stain and the box is kind of tattered. It's just a game, whatever. Throw it in the box for Goodwill or Salvation Army and get a new one. I'm sure that was the final fate of a lot of those. They were played with as meant to be. So the number of them left in existence has got to be diminishingly small these days. And there's been a couple of pre-production sets where they tested to see what the wood grain shelf paper look would be like, but they didn't stick they didn't paste the artwork on the front or on the side. But they're still shrink wrapped, and they still probably have the OD&D books inside. I mean, you want to talk about rare? That's freaking rare. And the people who stumbled on those, that just kind of blows my mind. So I don't deny that I would not love to have something like that. But to me, things that were given in the context of of a gift or an incredible find. I mean, I'm looking over at my bookshelf over there, and I can see my true first print Dungeon Master's Guide and the true first print Monster Manual that I found all on the same day. And then later I found a true first print Player's Handbook at the same bookstore, and I paid $2, $3 each for them at the local used bookstore. The Monster Manual, which I've shown on the stream when we talked about the AD&D 1E Monster Manual for Antique D&D Roadshow, the Monster Manual still has a faintly readable price sticker. Now, the store is gone now, but when I got it and I was able to focus in on that, it was like K&K Toys or something like that up in the Carolinas. And I looked them up online, and at that time they were still a going toy or hobby shop, and in fact were Wizards of the Coast partners. So there they were at that time, 77 to 2007. 25 years later, still selling Dungeons and Dragons product. Little bits like that are super cool to me. Like, I would not go over there and say, okay, let's get some Goo Gone and scrub that price tag off. No way. No freaking way. That is part of the item's history, and that is just too cool. So to me, when it comes to D&D collections, it's not how much you collect and how perfect it is. In fact, the imperfections make the collections, if I can engage in a little bit of rhyme scheme there. The imperfect items, and you know why your Star Frontiers box is falling apart and why it's missing most of its counters in the city map. You know why you don't have the staples are gone on the spine of your copy keep on the Borderlands, or your name is written in calligraphy on the inside box lid of your World of Greyhawk set, and so on and etc. Those are real D&D treasures. Gary's signature on something. One guy was commenting in that very thread. He said, I have I don't remember the book, but he said, I have this book that's autographed by by Gary Gygax, and it's I can't remember what book he said it was, but he said he went to Gen Con and there was Gary at a table, and he like ran to a vendor's booth and just grabbed the first book that he could, and bought it and took it over for Gary to sign. So that's special to him, you know. And I think that's just swell. I think that is just fantastic. So remember, when you're putting together when you're looking out over your collection, as it were, when you're looking out over what people say, you know, oh, collect this, collect that, that sort of thing. What's important is what you care about and what you like. I mean, it doesn't matter if all of your modules came through Drive-Thru RPG. You know, if you busted your ass, you know, if all your books, all your modules were lost to time through whatever means, misfortune, poor decision making on your part, or you had to get rid of them, you know, at the time, and you've pulled yourself back up and you've gone on Drive-Thru RPG, and yes, I want all this on print on demand, and the ones I can't get print on demand, I will send someplace that does print on demand, and I'll get it there. If that's how you got your modules together, man, right on. And your rule books and whatever. Don't even. Yeah, they may never be worth a fortune one day, but if they're worth something to you, then it's absolutely worth it. It's absolutely a worthy collectible. If it's collectible to you, if it's utterly unique to you, then that makes it more special than going out and just saying, yeah, you know, I just spent a lot of money. If you worked for the money to do it, hey, right on. I'm pro-capitalism. Yay, capitalism. But I remember I worked for this absolutely horrible person, and I use person in the loosest possible sense. If you're familiar, speaking of bleak cinema, if you're familiar with the movie Glengarry Glen Ross, back in the early 2000s, I went to work for the local Remax guy, and they are the absolute worst. Sorry if you're affiliated with Remax. I'm about to take a dump on you. But I worked for a guy who was so awful. At the time, I also had a gig writing, not even related to that, but writing for tech magazines, which we'll talk a little bit about on Friday. Don knows about that. And I finished an article and I turned it in, and I was paid a lot of money for it. I was paid a lot of money for it. And I was so miserable that I called up a friend of mine after work one day, and I said, look, and he was out of state. His business was doing that kind of work. And I called him up and I said, look, I will cash this check. I will cash this bonus check that I got for writing this article. And it was not an inconsiderable amount of money. And I said, I will get on a plane in the morning. I will call in sick to work. I will fly to where you are, and I will put this cash in your hand if you will hire me. I will give you a hiring bonus from me if you can give me some place to step out of. But it didn't work out. The point is, just a few days prior to that, we were sitting on this Glengarry Glen Ross guy's bus. Yes, he owned a bus. I don't mean like a converted school bus. I mean a tour bus, like a rock tour bus. Bed in the back, place up front. And we were going to some real estate conference on the other side of the state. Now, I'm an IT guy. I was working IT. Okay. I wasn't part of his little land scam deal that he was doing. But the subject, the movie Walk the Line had just come out. And the subject, have you seen Walk the Line? And I said, I haven't seen it yet, but I'm a huge fan of Johnny Cash's music. And I am a huge fan of Johnny Cash's music. And I said, I've been a fan of Johnny Cash since I was a kid. I grew up listening to Johnny Cash. I would take my dad's records and I would play them over and over and over and over again. And we would listen to 8 tracks in the car. And, when he released his American Recordings albums in 1994, it was his first album in forever. And it was so soulful and real compared to like their attempts to make him into a slick pop star in the late 70s and early 80s. And I got all the American Recordings and stuff. Every time a new one would come out, I'd get a copy for my dad. And Mr. Glengarry Glen Ross, a guy named Don Hackenberger, was like, well, we bought one of Johnny Cash's properties at a tax lien sale and found some personal papers of his in a desk. So, that's my end. And I'm like, really? You profited off of the guy's misery and mishap? I grew up with it and you just spent millions of dollars and just leached off this guy's unhappiness, a misfortune, and you consider yourself a fan of Johnny Cash now? Okay, whatever. So going out and spending a lot of money on something does not, necessarily a fan make. Now, on the flip side, my pal Paul Stormberg, he did a lot of finagling to get A Paladin in Hell. The drawing from inside the player's handbook. Well, I shouldn't say the drawing, the artwork inside the player's handbook. Paul owns that original piece of art, and he spent a lot of hard-earned cash on that. That's, oh my God, I would love to see that. That's a really awesome thing, And the $80 or so that I spent when I bought this, that was a big dip to me. But I was able to get one. These are $300-$400 now. And I was able to lay my hands on one. But I think you guys all understand kind of the difference I'm making there, Like I said, I'm pro-capitalism. But it just stuck in my craw, that one thing. Semele says, I don't buy any side merch. I have pretty limited space for books, and shows I get. Collectibles would eat it up fast, and I was never one for it anyway. Well, yeah, And hey, you may be just as happy to say, yeah, I got a bunch of stuff on a flash drive. But that's great, That's fine too. If your shelfie is to, laugh and hold up a thumb drive and say, I got everything in PDF, that's fine too. But the point is, when I started going down like all the RPG stuff that I have that meant something to me, and I was like, well, I have all my OD&D books that are signed by Gary and Dave. Some of them are signed by Tim Kask because Tim had something to do with their publication. One of them is signed by Jim Ward, Gods, Demigods, and Heroes. And And that one's also signed by Rob Kuntz, as is Supplement 1 Greyhawk. I have Chainmail autographed by Gary and Dave. I'd like to get it autographed by Jeff Perrin, to be honest. So hopefully he'll be well enough to attend GaryCon next year. And if so, if he's going to be there, and I know he's going to be there, I'll take my copy of Chainmail just to meet him and thank him for basically, he's the guy that you know, you know, Gary lit the fuse. He made the fuse, right? But that's, you know, that's all of that is ancillary. Whatever makes you happy in terms of what you have for RPG stuff. Now, look, if my wife or my daughters fell ill or there was some disaster involving our house that had to be remedied, and I knew there were people lined up looking for things like this, I'd let it all go, because it is all out there digitally. You know, they're just things. I wouldn't want someone to just come in and take them. But if it meant keeping a roof over our head or keeping, you know, keeping the family well, then yeah, you know, I would definitely do it. Similarly says, only buy physical media. Yeah. Now that's the thing. Like the other day, you know, I was talking about the Star Wars trilogy box that I got a new copy of. Well, old copy of, but new replacement copy of, I should say. That, I was talking about the PDFs and so on. If you do get the PDFs, print them out. Even if you just burn through a couple of printer cartridges, printing them out to have physical copies, and then make backups of your backups. Don't keep them online. Don't keep them in the cloud. All right. There's moral busybodies out there just waiting for the chance to go back and delete the past, to make the past anathema. I mean, I said this the other day when I was talking about getting the Star Wars soundtracks. So when the Kindle came out, literally one of the first big tech issues was because Amazon deleted copies of 1984 off of people's Kindles. They just woke up one morning, 1984 is not on their Kindle anymore. Down the memory hole it went. So if your shelfie is a folder on your PC full of PDFs, back that up. Don't put that out there. And for God's sake, don't rely on Drive-Thru RPG, RPG Now, or DM's Guild to hold your stuff for you. Yeah, I can just go to XYZ. You know, I don't even have to take books with me. I'll just go to this person's house and use their computer, or get on their Wi-Fi, and just don't rely on that, please. Please. So that's my shelfie story. What have you got? Think about that. What have you guys got that's really cool that you like? I'm just curious. You don't have to respond in now in the bleep bloop there. But when you're checking out your collection today, and I'm not about to launch into some polemic about, you know, if you don't like it, you should get rid of it. You do what you want with your stuff, but just look at your stuff and maybe take a minute, you know, your RPG books, and think about the history of them. Think about like what made you the happiest. Like, where were you when you got your AD&D Dungeon Master's Guide? You know, who gifted you your World of Greyhawk set, and so on and etc. Just a little something fun for you to think about today. And speaking of gifting things, today is brought to you by me. So if you are looking for physical or digital copies of the stuff I've written, you can get Elemental Moon, which was written by myself and Lance Havermail at Frog God Games. That is currently only in PDF. You'll have to you'll have to send that off to Lulu to get that printed and bound for you. Also available from me, you can get the Lost Crypt, which is a module that I worked on with Gary. And last and definitely not least, from Hellebarde. Now, you'll have to ask them. They may still have physical copies of Temple of the Sun left, but Temple of the Sun is a project I worked on with Hellebarde Games. Well, its genesis goes back further than that. I originally created it and set it in the world of Greyhawk, and it was a freely available module. The world of Greyhawk one, which is different from this one, is still available, but if you want a nice copy, nice digital copy that you can send off to Lulu and get printed, or they may have physical copies, I don't know, over at Hellebarde, they may still have some of those left. You can check it out, and you can drop it into a Castles and Crusades or Osric game. Let me just put that there. So those are 3 projects of mine. So if you don't have a physical RPG collection, now's your time. Now's your chance. Jump on it. And you can start off with you can start off with some modules that I've written. There's a sequel for Elemental Moon in the works that is a very, 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 very lethal 2 characters adventure, and I'm not going to give away any more than that. So just some food for thought about your collections and about what you like to get together. And I ain't even touched on miniatures, man. We'll discuss those another time. Maybe I'll chat about that tomorrow while I try to paint. Oh, excuse me. So tomorrow we will, as I said, I will be painting. I will be continuing to paint the Grenadier minis. I may throw a little splash of color on Warduke here. I may do him with those if I've got enough. Paint left on the palette. But yeah, I'll continue these guys up tomorrow, and I'll have the camera over the shoulder. It'll hopefully be a little bit better than just the snaky camera mount that this little webcam over here was sitting on, that I was constantly bumping into. And you guys can watch me paint for a while, and I'll talk about painting and so on. I want to do a video also of like a quick army painting scheme that I learned from Luke's APS, who is a guy. He mostly does terrain setups, but he did do a couple of videos where he like army paints. Both in the paint he uses, being by army painter, and the technique he uses. I want to modify that a little bit, but I don't know that that'll be a live video, because I'd have to take the camera outside and set it up and protect it from getting paint on the lens or any of the other workings and etc. I don't really want to do the airbrush in here, because I've got like a 3D printer over here, computer down here, computer stuff up here, and a computer over there. I just don't want atomized paint drifting through the air in this room. So I may film that and then upload it just kind of as a bonus video somehow or the other. But I'll figure that out as we come to it. So yeah, I want to do that just to have the dang things done. Just to say, wow, look, I knocked out all these kobolds. These 40 metal Reaper kobolds. Not bones, not Reaper bones. God, no. No, metal kobolds. And then I got to do the same thing with goblins. Although he doesn't have a goblins tutorial up, I will have to come up with something on my own for the goblins, but we'll figure that out along the way. So, with that said, I think we're just about done listening to me ramble today. Tonight, I will be on Jayashiro Finney's live stream on YouTube. I'll share the link back onto Facebook as quickly as I get it from him. I don't know if we're going to be doing video. It may just be us doing an audio thing, but I'll find out from him if he wants to do video. And if that's the case, that's cool. And I'm going to be talking about getting started writing RPG materials, and that'll be a lot of fun. And you know, if you're not going to be around, if you're not going to be able to catch it, he does leave his videos up. He doesn't delete his streams, at least as far as I know. Although it's funny, a month or so ago, I was on a live stream with him, and we were talking about classic pinup beauties. And pinup artists today who dress and appear in the classic style, who do like a Betty Page look nowadays. And just in the he was putting up as an image, like he was, oh, Gretchen Mol, put up a picture. Oh, there's Gretchen Mol. There's, Dita Von Teese. They're just the stream just died. YouTube just murdered it right and just pop. Nope, you're done. And we were gone. So yeah. But otherwise, there are great things to see on his YouTube channel. He and his wife, Kat, have been doing read-throughs. They're suffering, so you don't have to. Been doing very humorous read-throughs of a book by Bob Chipman, who is a self-styled movie critic and a really awful person, and Olivia Munn, who's an actress, and while she's a lot less awful than Bob Chipman, she is vapid with a capital vapid. So them reading through her book is actually kind of funny. So yeah, I will be on his stream tonight, and as quickly as I have the link. Well, you can go check his page. You can actually, and what you should do, let me see here. What you should do is, let me just pull this up here. Go check out Jayashiro's page now, and you can see what he's all about. And I tell you, it hasn't hurt listening to him chat and learn a little bit about writing and so on from him. And it certainly hasn't hurt participating on there, because I think I picked up a couple of 2 or 3 subscribers who watch his channel, and I really appreciate that. That's all kinds of awesome. So thank you for that, Shiro, if you're watching this later today. So I'll be doing that tonight. I'll let you guys know the link. I'll put it in the old Facebook bleep bloop over there, and you can follow it. And if you're with me on YouTube, there's no excuse not to click there and go check out his stuff. So I will talk to you guys tomorrow directly, unless you want to come and get in his live stream and ask a question, then I'll answer it. But tomorrow I will be doing a paint stream, a paint cast. And Friday, Don McVitie will be here on the Crazy Gibberish, and that will be lots of fun. So until then, peace to you guys. I love you all, and I mean that. I will see you all later. So take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.